So Drew, we heard you wanted a bigger MacBook. Oh my god, yes. Are you finally going to bring back the 17-inch MacBook Pro? Well, I'm not sure 17 inches will be enough. Oh my god, Tim, are you going to make an 18-inch MacBook Pro? Oh, Drew. More. No, you wouldn't dare. That's right. We're gonna make a 19-inch MacBook Pro and then fold it in half. What? Why would you do... Okay, why would you do that? Oh, man, did I forget to tell you good morning? Good morning! Ow! Tim, it's okay. It's okay. We can just greet each other. We see each other all the time. We're gonna be combining the Macs and the iPads to create the Maxi... The iPad Max. Okay, better, but if you fold it in half, it's not really gonna be as big as I'd like, is it? Well, you asked us to put macOS on the iPad, so we're bringing iPadOS to the Mac. This isn't what I meant, Tim. I hope you all like creases. Oh no, let's begin. So the rumors are all flooding back again. Apparently, Apple is looking into some kind of hybrid device. Now, to be fair, this one is not going to be ready in the near-term future, so a lot could change. Take everything with a grain of salt, but I am believing more and more of these reports that at least Apple is toying around with some kind of hybrid device, and instead of just doing the very simple thing, in my opinion, of allowing a dual boot option on existing iPads, it's okay, I've accepted. I'm not getting what I want, that's fine. Apple is instead exploring the concept of basically a form factor which would entail having two 12.9-inch iPad Pros that are kind of stitched together with a very large 19-inch foldable display. And then you could have some, like, you know, folding mechanism, so it's kind of like a Mac, but I suppose when unfolded, kind of like more of a giant iPad. Yeah, and I have to admit, this isn't a design I'm completely in love with. Like, it sounds very, very similar, in my opinion, to the Microsoft Surface Neo, which never really happened, but the concept was similar. And I think my main issue with it is, you know, okay, it's one thing to say you just want to make a giant iPad so that you can draw on it and have a canvas. I'm sure that flexible display is going to be great with an Apple Pencil, right? But where I take more issue is trying to emulate the laptop experience with a folding display, because I think what Apple figured out fairly early on is that people like having physical keys for certain things. I mean, they keep adding buttons to the freaking iPhone. Got the action button and the camera control button. Yes, Apple, that's what it's called. But also, even though I was the kind of guy that could get used to a virtual keyboard, and I was perfectly happy typing on a touchscreen with my iPad Pros back in the day, Apple discovered that most people preferred having a physical keyboard, even with their iPad, and that's why they've now gotten to the point where they're basically always advertising iPad Pros or iPad Airs with Magic Keyboard cases that are usually $200 or $300 more on top of an already expensive tablet because, well, people like the trackpad, or people like having those physical keys that they can type on. So when we start hypothetically working on a $2,000 or $3,000 folding iPad that's going to prop up, it's like, yeah, I get the idea that you could have all of this additional display that goes downward, but is Apple really going to be okay with a virtual keyboard again? I kind of doubt it, which means this $2,000 folding maxi iPad, whatever you want to call it, is probably still going to have you buy a $300 keyboard accessory that docks to it, that has to fold on to the touchscreen part so that you can type on it, and maybe some of the curvature part of the display recreates the touch bar feeling, but I don't know, I still just think Apple is going about this all wrong. I got really hyped by some of the clickbait articles out there that were toying around with a 19-inch MacBook Pro, because I take my MacBook everywhere and I still think it's perfectly small, and I have the 16-inch model. I would be fine just lugging around an even thicker one. Sure, you could shrink the bezels if that helps a little bit, but I do want to be able to carry the largest possible display in my backpack when I'm traveling, because I am, oftentimes when I'm in other places, I'm going to be showing it to people on the go, or me and my wife are going to be watching movies on it, in which case we want kind of a little portable TV everywhere we go. And the speakers on my MacBook Pro are fantastic, and the mini LED is great and all, and I know there's talk of Apple switching to OLED, so I'm all in favor of Apple trying to fit bigger and bigger displays in our laptops. And no, I'm sorry, I'm not buying Apple Vision Pro, but I think the whole folding mechanism is just like asking for ridicule. It's asking for more complexity and additional cost. I honestly don't think it would be that much more expensive to just manufacture bigger flat-screened iPads or just bigger MacBooks. Just like the same design we already have. And I understand the battery life couldn't get that much bigger because of FAA regulations and all that, but still, like, I think there's potential for the MacBook to go bigger, but once you get that folding tech involved, we've got all this durability issues, and I know Samsung and Google have proven that there is like a durable way to make a flexible display, but it's more about how the hinge wears out over time as well as the crease, which all the rumors are saying Apple's trying to make sure that they can eliminate the crease, but I just don't think it's physically possible. Like, anything that is bending back and forth that doesn't have gears and hinges like the actual display portion, that will have a bit of warping to it. Now, it may not be as obvious from certain angles, but actually what I noticed whenever I have reviewed folding phones in the past is I'm not too worried about the durability of the display, but the way it feels always takes a big dive if it has to fold. You go from touching a really, really high quality piece of glass like we do on our iPhones or iPads, but then once you start touching a folding phone, it has this very squishy, icky, plasticky feel, especially as you start scrolling across the crease. You feel this little uneven indentation, and those are the kind of details that I feel like Apple really, really likes to get right, and I just don't know if it's possible with folding tech. And that's the kind of thing that Steve Jobs would probably be a real stickler about, is like the amount of give from touching the display and feeling that unevenness of the crease. So that's why I don't really want Apple to go in this direction of folding iPad, which the rumors are saying should have the capability to run Mac apps, even though it's more of an iPadOS powered device. I'm like, that's all cool, but let's just do that on regular iPad Pros. I'm not against folding tech, but I think it makes more sense on phones because they're smaller and probably easier from a supply chain perspective to build at scale for relatively affordable pricing. Whereas if we start doing like folding iPads at that massive scale, I just haven't seen any company been able to do that relatively affordably. So if Apple does it, I'm sure it's going to be $2,000, $3,000. Probably pretty difficult to justify, but who knows? You know, I thought the iPad Pro was a big waste of money, and apparently it's the best seller. Everybody loves those things. So Apple probably knows way more than I do about this. It would be interesting from a content perspective. It would pretty much give all of us content creators who follow Apple really closely lots of things to talk about, like room for improvement and things that it's good at and things that it's not good at, but I'm guessing it would be a bunch of reviews that say, yeah, you shouldn't buy this, it's probably not worth it. But what do you guys think? Would you buy a Max iPad, or do you think MacBooks should go bigger than they already are, or smaller? Like, just all your thoughts and opinions, drop them down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.